Hi there, how's it going? I'm Richard Kiston, an attorney here in the New York City area, helping people with things like bankruptcy and buying and selling real estate. In this video, I'm going to share with you how if you're selling a house in the New York City area, how you can go ahead and request a final water reading from the New York City DEP, which you'll need for closing. So generally speaking, there's lots of documents and things that go on in the course of selling a property in the New York City area. And one of the things that's often kept to the end, but between buyer attorney and seller attorney is always an issue, is going to be getting a final water reading. And there are a number of reasons for that. The biggest thing is that it's just a little difficult to time it with DEP to get a final water reading. But for both sides, anytime you're selling a property, right, you want your accounts closed out as of the date closing occurs. And then for the buyer, you want to be protected that you're not taking on any liabilities incurred by the seller. So it's important, and in interest of fairness, that if you're buying or selling property, if you're a seller, to get a final water reading so that it's available for closing. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 2 ways that you can go ahead and do that. And before we get to contacting DEP to request a final water reading, what exactly is a final water reading? It includes all the water sewer charges through the date that DEP says it's good through. Oftentimes, people will send the account snapshot, but and I'll talk about that in a moment, that's not a final water reading. That's just the account for that billing cycle. So you want to know at closing if there's anything going backwards. It could be from previous cycles that have been left unpaid, or particularly, next reason, in the case a city does a rebill where they examine the account and audit it, and if there's any unpaid charges, that's going to be or should be present in final water reading. So it also acts as protection for the buyer that, hey, we got a final water reading. City said this was it, that's owed. If they come back, city comes back and says that, oh, there were charges that were never paid, the buyer has a final water reading to sit and protect themselves with. And then finally, oftentimes water meters, hey, if you'll call for a final water reading a couple of days before closing, you'll get the representative to say that they can't issue a final water reading because they need to inspect the meter. And so if you do this with enough buffer time before a closing, you might be able to schedule an inspection of the water meter, maybe even before closing. All right, and then one of the reasons why as a seller you want that final water reading at or available for closing is that in most instances, to protect themselves, the buyer's attorney is going to ask that money be held back in escrow, held back until that final water reading is produced. Sometimes you'll see, and getting to the next thing, the snapshot of your current account, if you go to pay my bill, that's just for the current cycle. If, let's say, after closing, it turns out that there are a couple $1,000s in unpaid water charges, unless money is held back in escrow and you agree to pay that after closing as a seller, then the buyer's on the hook for that. So it's important, and again, I think in fairness, that you try to get a final water reading as close to closing as possible. And then just know that if one isn't available, more likely than not, the buyer attorney is going to ask that money from proceeds be held back in escrow until that final water reading is produced. But note that it's not the same if you go to dep.gov, pay my bill, enter in your 13-digit account number, that it's not the same. What appears there, it says current due, past due. It's not the same as a final water reading, because as per my conversation with DEP, what appears on that website is just the current billing cycle. All right. In terms of, I touched on this really quickly to open this video, but with DEP, it can take they'll tell you that it can take up to 30 days for that final water bill to generate. I don't know, I know that people are doing their jobs, but I'm not sure. It's mostly electric water meters. Unless they're not getting a reading, I don't know why it takes 30 days. But either way, it can take up to 30 days. Usually it doesn't take that long. It can be, I've gotten water bills within the same day sometimes. It just depends on the account and if there's any issues or discrepancies with what appears on DEP side. But it can take up to 30 days. So usually you got to time it out with when you're going to request the water bill. A lot of attorneys, and I'm guilty of this myself, will wait until you're getting close to schedule and closing to request a water bill, because you don't want to have one requested as soon as you enter into contract, because you want it as close to closing as possible. And if you do it, request one before, there may be a huge gap. Sometimes closings may be delayed. And then if the good through date is only, 2 months before closing or a month before closing, who knows what could happen after closing or in that month before closing, if a pipe breaks or something like that, and you want to know. So you kind of time it getting to closing. Once you know that the parties are gearing up or lining up for closing, that's when you probably want to make the request. Now, method number one is going to be you can call the DEP, or number two is going to be email them. And so very simply, once you time it out with the buyer, like when they're looking to close and whatnot, you can call DEP and request it. Their number is 718-595-7000, and let them know that you're selling property. You need to order a final title, final water reading. They'll ask about the property address. They'll say, hold on one second, got to review the account. They'll look through it, see if they need to schedule an inspection, or if not, they'll say, let you know. They'll generate and send out the water reading, whether by email, fax, or mail it out to you. And it could take up to 30 days for that to generate. The second way to do it is going to be emailing the DEP. And this is the email address, titlereadrequest@dep.nyc.gov. I think increasingly I'm preferring that. Just send an email out. Just know that with DEP emails, it's so easy for it to go into like a spam folder. So just be mindful of that if you as a seller are requesting it. But you can send an email, titlereadrequest@dep.nyc.gov. I'm the seller, owner of the property. I'm selling this property. Parties are looking to schedule closing within the next two to 3 weeks. I'm requesting a final water reading. And again, please send via email. Hopefully there aren't any issues. They'll let you know. You should get like a confirmation email shortly that they've received the request. And then, if they need to schedule inspection, or they just email you back the actual final water reading. In general, as an attorney, I'll usually handle this for the seller. Just one less thing they have to worry about in terms of getting ready for selling the property, getting the property in cleaning it out, vacating it, etc. So I usually take care of it. But if you're a seller who wants to do it for yourself, this is how you can go ahead and do it. Again, calling 718-595-7000, or number two is going to be emailing titlereadrequest@dep.nyc.gov. Let me know what you think about this video. If you like more of it like this, in terms of like the responsibilities and mechanisms behind buying a house, selling a house in the New York City area. And until next time, take care, be well. Bye for now.